Hi everybody! For today's video lesson, we're going to analyze the public service announcement called Love Has No Labels featuring John Cena. Let's dive in. Let's begin with context. Context, when we talk about context, we're talking about what is happening in the world or in the United States at the time of the text. So when was this video released? So when you write your own rhetorical analysis paper, I'm going to encourage you to do a little digging relating to context. So if you see, I've got a screen capture of this video, and we can see that it was launched on July 4th, 2016. So July 4th, that's Independence Day. It's a really important day in America. Also, it was launched in 2016. So this was 4 months before the presidential election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. If you were paying attention to politics or the news at that point in time, you may remember that it was a really divisive time in American history. People felt very divided. So this video came out at a time specifically when people were feeling a lot of patriotism and love for America, but at a time in history when we felt really divided. Another interesting piece of information that I dug up while doing a little background research on this video was that hate crimes had sharply increased in America during 2016. If you look at the slides on your own, you can see my hyperlink here to cite that source. So I would argue, if I were writing a paper on this public service announcement, that it was released in response to these feelings of divisiveness and this uptick in hate crimes in America. Let's begin with Ethos. So Ethos is the credibility and trustworthiness of the people who are putting out the video and also of the video itself. So how did the producers of this public service announcement, the Ad Council, create some ethos? Well, namely, they use a celebrity. This is a big one that you'll see in PSAs and commercials. So they're using WWE star John Cena. So he's masculine, strong, handsome, he's friendly and likable. Also, the camera walks with him. It gives you the feeling as the audience member that you're walking with John Cena and having a conversation or an informal chat with him. That really builds the ethos too. You may also notice that in the PSA, there are real people used in it. That builds ethos too. It's not full of models and people who are hired to do the job. It's full of real live Americans who represent diversity. You may or may not have recognized this city, but this was filmed in New Orleans. New Orleans is one of the oldest cities in the United States, and we have a lot of emotional connection to this city. America loves New Orleans. Finally, it's a little more subtle, but there's some symbolism in this video, which lends to a bit of the ethos. So we have the American flag and the bald eagle, lending some credibility and trustworthiness to this public service announcement. A little more ethos. This is a really interesting thing that they do. If you watch the video all the way through to the very, very end, you'll notice that they ask people to share their photo of their own diversity with the hashtag #WeAreAmerica. So when they invite the audience to share their personal experiences, it enhances the ethos of their message because, again, we're inviting real people into the mix to share their stories. Let's move on to Pathos. Remember that Pathos is, the goal of Pathos is to get the audience to feel emotion, and that emotion can then be used to persuade the audience. So one of the first things you may have noticed was the patriotic music in this public service announcement. In the very beginning, there is a drum that sounds a lot like the drum in the fife and drum music of the Revolutionary War. As we move past that drum, the music swells. It's happy music. It's kind of epic, patriotic music. It's not negative music. To contrast, imagine how this would feel different if the music in the background was death metal or electronic dance music. It would have a really different feel. So the music here was chosen very purposefully to create emotion in the audience. So remember I said that sometimes something might be ethos and sometimes it might be pathos. Well, those American flags and the images of the bald eagle, those also will play upon pathos, especially for people who may have a really strong connection to these images of patriotic American imagery. As John Cena walks, more flags appear, which could also play upon pathos. We see rainbow flags representing LGBTQ people. We see flags of other countries. We also see happy faces of people representing diverse groups of Americans. So again, this makes, when you see the smiling, happy people, or if you see people who represent you, that plays upon pathos. It can make you feel these positive emotions. Another way that people use pathos is through diction or word choice. You'll see this not only in videos and commercials, but you'll see it when you're reading a written persuasive piece. So you'll notice that John Cena uses emotionally charged language. Here are some examples from the transcripts: patriotism, love, badge of honor, unite, proud of it, culture, freedom, beliefs. And here are a few quotes that are really positively emotionally charged. Labels don't devalue us, they define us. And it's stitched into the stars and stripes of this country, from the Constitution to Gettysburg, to our motto, E pluribus unum, from many, one. I encourage you to go back into the lesson and check out the transcripts of John Cena's monologue so you could see these emotionally charged words that he chose. He's not talking off the cuff. This was really carefully crafted. Another way that you may notice pathos is through humor. So Cena makes a number of quick little jokes that just kind of remind the audience of his masculinity and his WWE background. And they also, humor helps to put the audience at ease. So here are a few examples of times where he makes subtle little jokes. It's more than a huge rock full of animals like cougars and eagles, right? How much can they bench? And this year, whenever you feel the urge to don star-spangled shorts or set off fireworks the size of my biceps. There's another time when he mentions ultimate frisbee, so he makes a little joke there too. Lastly, he develops pathos through tone. So the tone of this video is proud, it's positive, and it's communal. Sometimes when we're talking about tone, we could highlight tone by thinking about what it's not. Think about what they didn't do. John Cena is not lecturing or scolding anyone. In a time in America where there's an uptick in violence, you could have a lot of anger. They're not showcasing anger here. It's also not satirical. They're not mocking anything. It's just a proud, positive, and communal tone, and that develops pathos too. Let's move on to logos. Logos is facts and statistics and reason. So he has a long stretch of this video where he gives statistics. 319 million American citizens exist. 51% are women, 54 million are Latino, 40 million are senior citizens, 27 million are disabled, 18 million are Asian, 9 million are LGBT, 3.5 million are Muslim. So those are facts and statistics that play upon logic. It's not debatable. He could cite those sources. He also uses some reason. When we talk about reason in terms of logos, we're talking about if-then logic or cause-effect logic. So when he says, because the second any of us judge people based on those labels, we're not really being patriotic, are we? He's saying, I just proved to you how diverse we are, and if you love America, that means you embrace diversity. He's using reason there. Sometimes there's some other cool things that may not even fit into the logos, ethos, pathos framework. Structure is something cool to look at in videos and commercials. You may notice that the camera follows John Cena in one long shot. It's not choppy and cut here, cut there, cut the other way, look from afar, look from up close. It's one long film. And also, sometimes they're facing him right on to make eye contact, again, adding to that pathos and ethos. When he names specific demographic groups, you will notice that those people will wander behind him. So when he mentions somebody who's in the military, you're going to see a military person behind him. When he mentions LGBT people, there's a family of dads and a kid who walk behind him. It's a really cool feature. So now that we've examined the video, let's think about the following. What is the primary purpose here? Who is the audience? And what is the message? So the primary purpose is to persuade. He's not selling anything. He's trying to get us to view diversity in America in a different way. You could argue that the audience is Americans, but more specifically, if he's persuading somebody, he's probably targeting Americans who may not embrace diversity as something that strengthens American culture. The message here, you can look at the title of the piece, which is Love Has No Labels. But also, we can go a little deeper. America is a diverse nation, and that diversity makes us stronger. So here's the big question. Is this public service announcement effective? Do the tools used in the video communicate the message to the audience? I say yes. I say that through the tone and through that equal use of logos, ethos, and pathos, I think this piece is really well done and really persuasive. When you're doing your own rhetorical analysis, that's what you're going to ask yourself. You're going to choose a visual text and you're going to ask, is it effective? Does it effectively communicate its message to the audience using rhetorical tools like logos, ethos, or pathos, or music and silence, celebrity, structure, color, space, or emptiness? We're going to continue to talk about that over this course of this unit. So just, hang in there with me and watch these videos and participate in the analysis. And eventually, I think you'll find a piece that you want to talk about, that you can argue is either effective or ineffective. All right, that's all for today, everybody. I'll see you in Canvas.